obvious, a little bit less apparent, and a little bit less practiced. So how you're going to play on the day with compositions that you haven't scrimmed as much or even potentially ever is now so much more paramount.
You gotta remember, you know, these teams haven't played for a while. We've had a bit of that gauntlet run with KT, but these teams had a break since the end of the regular season. And now really will be tested going into this fourth game of the series.
KT wasn't going to any game 4s either.
Nope.
That's true.
Just clean sweep for them. They will be playing tomorrow against T1, for those curious about their run.
And I feel like further pressure is going to be put on Gen.G because now it goes on to them to ban away the Vi, but also if they're going to maintain that Yone ban that they've kept up on the blue side, but now on red, really limits the amount of bans you have for the rest of the series.
Agreed. For Hanwha Life, they can take Chovy's iconic Galio away. The Nidalee is going to be taking it away once more, even now on blue side. And some other picks that we haven't seen as prioritized in this series, like the Pantheon, are still available. See what does come through in this second slot here for Gen.G. So many of the prio picks are gone as we move deep into the series, like the Kalista. Jace will be taken away from Zeus again.
Yeah, it's interesting to ban the Jace here because now it feels like you 100% have to ban the One. So it makes you a bit more predictable when it does come down to your third ban. So Hanwha can potentially utilize that to say, okay, we know you're banning Yone. What do we want to play if we ban away just something and then Yone gets banned? So they kind of had their pick of the litter here for their first pick on blue side.
Unless, you know, it's risky, but do you leave it open and risk having a counter to it? Was this your strategy going on the red side? Are you willing to do it when you're 2-1 down in the series? That's the question. Or do you just ban the Yone away? One thing is that the Sejuani is now gone.
Yeah.
You feel less afraid of the Yone now that the Sejuani is not available to pair with it. That could be a factor in the equation.
I think because the Trundle is also gone, the Ornn feels like it works with so many different comps, has some strong team fighting power even in mid-game, and then later on gives you tons of scaling. This Victor ban makes a lot of sense, as the mid lane is going to start to get a little bit weird, because I feel like the mid meta has been the most decided, the most tier list across this season thus far. Just, we know what picks players are going to play. Even the Aurora is kind of niche that we saw in Game 3. And Victor is now taken away. The Azir is gone. The Taliyah is gone. No Ryze, no Ahri. First pick. Tough one. And the Yone, as you mentioned, is going to get snapped up. A flex pick for this team as well between our Z solo laners.
I don't even know if they were using that time to discuss this first pick or if it was, you know, what are we going to pick alongside of the Yone?
Zeus and Zeko arguing over who gets to play it.
I think it's just like, I'm not going to lock it in unless I get to play it.
So probably is going to be Zeka who gets to play this one, and presumably Chovy has something ready to play into it. We did see TF get some slight buffs on the most recent patch, I believe, that we're playing on, and it looks like that's the pick they're confident playing this, and they must have had this prepared and ready to deal with it, and looking to get the priority on the Alistar that was banned in the first 3 in the last draft, denying this from Delight as well for this game and potentially the next. Pretty huge.
So what jungle do we get here for Peanut? Does he want to wait for some more information, or is he just going to slam the Maokai?
It's very Peanut. It's not very this meta, but it's very Peanut. Pantheon, you mentioned it before.
I mean, it seems so broken for Gen.G's comp. It doesn't feel necessarily great for mid-jungle here. And it almost feels like that was an acknowledgement that Canyon is going to get it on R3, and there's just simply nothing they could do about it. I do think the Maokai's in a good spot in this draft. Very powerful for zone control. A lot of objective power on this one. We'll see what this final lock-in does end up being. The Yorick, who hasn't been touched or banned at all this series, is going to be the go-to. So we now know 100%, which we likely knew, this was going to be a Zeka Yone, but this is confirmation as well.
And now, do you pick something immediately for Keen to respond? Are you going to pick a jungler? Are you going to pick something maybe for Ruler? If you want to get like the Senna, now is the time. I feel like you don't want to get it banned. We often see like the blue side second rotation Senna bans. If you want to get like the Pantheon for that global mid-jungle, looks like they are going to go for the Senna. So securing that really strong Senna, Alistar, I feel like that is a duo that you just don't often get to see with how rare it is for them to get through to the second rotation. And you don't often see it picked before the second rotation, but it does mean Going to limit some of the options for jungle and top as they are banned away.
One caveat, though, with the Senna pick here is that we often like it when there's a lot of damage coming out of the mid laner, and with Twisted Fate, he's more of a facilitator and isn't going to be necessarily doing a ton of damage himself. So keep that in mind, as maybe Keen will have to shore up some of that damage. They are playing into, right now, a full melee composition, so that feels really great that the Senna's there and the Twisted Fate could just gold card and keep people at bay. The Braum is once again going to be banned. I think that's not a surprise. I think the Pantheon ban is super obvious here for Hanwha Life Esports as well. Pantheon and Twisted Fate have so much power to go on to any side lane champion that Keen can offer.
So they thought that the damage was going to be coming from the jungle.
Yeah, that's not what I expected.
Yeah.
I still feel like Pantheon is quite good here.
Maybe they just don't rate it into the Maokai. You know, there is a lot of zone control, and if a Maokai goes in and gets ulted and rooted and just kind of, you know, runs out of time on a shield, maybe he just gets blown up.
Yeah, the cool thing about Pantheon, though, is he can come at a different angle. You know, he can avoid the ultimate entirely.
He's so high tier, like, it would be weird to just see it not even looked at. And that's going to be Nefiri, so they really just give no credit.
I think really thinking about the fact that they expect Gen.G to invest in more damage from that composition.
Yeah, I mean, I think that line of thinking does make sense. And you already have one goal, but you don't have to double down on it and go for the Pantheon.
With the Senna, they have, I guess, 2 globals in effect. So.
Yeah, effectively with the ultimate from Senna, the Dawning Shadow. A lot of discussion about this one. It's going to be Canyon's pick very likely.
Down to the wire, and it's Cho'Gath!
Okay, Cho'Gath to the top lane.
Cho'Gath, we have seen this not work.
Now, there is a chance.
In the LCK.
There is a chance that this is Twisted Fate top lane and Cho'Gath mid. Can be very tricky with this. It also, I guess, could be jungle, but I hope not.
We're getting a little bit weird.
That's the jungle damage that we were looking for. The Jinx I mentioned before we got into the draft feels very strong when you have a front line like this. Any sort of pick setup, Jinx Lulu feels great. Into the Senna, Alistar, where you have really no way of stopping the early Lulu pressure despite the repeated nerfs to this champion. It just constantly guarantees prio. Works well with Maokai, works well with Yone, and keeps the Jinx safe in team fights. And all you need is that first kill. An old favorite, perhaps?
I mean, you have the setup for it with the TF. There's a lot of CC set up for the Lee Sin. They are going to commit to it, so I feel like Gen.G's composition, you know, you have a lot of range to play around later on with the center and the TF. You have the setup to follow up, but you are dealing into, you know, you have the split push threat off the Yorick later. You have this 4-man team fight composition, which is pretty strong. I am interested with the Cho'Gath into the maiden. Is the theory you just eat the maiden?
I guess so.
I guess. Like,
otherwise, I feel like the matchup doesn't feel great.
You just eat his wife, you know?
It's kind of messed up. I don't know, Cho'Gath. You might want to reconsider.
But Cho'Gath, you know, it's going to be hard for him to lock the Yone down, and Yone will just kind of keep sending ghouls at him over and over again. And yes, he can just eat the maiden and get stronger, but it's not a winning matchup. Not to say that the Twisted Fate feels massively better, and I don't think you really wanted to play the Cho'Gath mid in this situation, but it's kind of an unusual one when you consider it's also Maokai jungle, so the anti-tank value that you normally look for with a Cho'Gath just doesn't feel like it's really a part of this draft for Hanwha Life where you could really index into it. So a bit of a puzzling one.
Saw Jonah Strong sign there, saying he's very knowledgeable about League, and it's true. You know, nobody saw Hanwha Life being as strong as they are today, except him. He was the only one who did predict Hanwha Life. And now it's really up to Gen.G with pretty interesting draft. This one, obviously, the side of Hanwha Life.
We have the synced cat skins with the Yorick and the Maokai.
Well, they got that going on at least. As we're ready, let's hop into the rift for game number 4.
생성까지 30초
All right, game number 4, and for some reason, they gave Zeka his Yone. In game 4 of Fearless, I was not excited to see this happen in the draft. I think Gen.G are taking a big risk by giving this team. Nobody gives this team Yone.
I think the thought process of it is
best of 3s.
I think the thought process of it is the only way you win this is with the reverse sweep, right? you're on red side for the rest of the series. If you give them Yone now, and you win this game, you free up the ban for game 5.
Again?
Ooh. Again?
2 cleared wards.
What a dub.
Massive
But
gold
yeah,
lead for Gen.G.
As I was saying, if you can either ban Yone both the games and lose that ban, or you give up Yone now, you beat it, and it's denied by Fearless in game 5, which is yes a risk, but it's like you're playing for the whole series. Like you have to play the full 5 games if you're gonna win, and I think that's the thought process they're going for in this situation. Is like you let it open, you let it get banned out in game 5 by Fearless.
Yeah.
And it's risky, but you know they're in a position where you have to take some risks.
It's a big risk. I personally would have just used the ban on Yone.
Yeah,
for the rest of the series.
I would have as well. And, you know, we said it from the outset. We didn't think that Champ was going to be allowed through the whole day. The same with the Vi, obviously. But Chovy has this Twisted Fate in his pocket. He is quite well known for his Twisted Fate, as most LCK mids are. You know, even Showmaker, you know, obviously one of our most iconic ones. But see how he performs in the lane? Because that's where he's generated a lot of his leads, is just from laning alone. And as you can see here, he went for the Unsealed Spellbook as well this game. So he has a lot of supportive abilities he can put down for his team. Can even potentially be a second smite button. But I'm looking for the global presence. Like, where does Chovy make the impact? Is he shutting down the Yorick in the top lane? Is it trying to amplify the Senna and protect her in some of these early skirmishes so she can actually get relevant value? Because it's not a game where you have like a Camille TF where you just hard go onto the side lane, or Jax, for example. It's a weird one, you know, because you're running Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I think that Cho'Gath specifically, we already see in the top lane, like, Yorick can be very punishing in the lane and annoying to deal with, but the Cho'Gath has so much sustain when you have extra stuff to kill, right? You're just killing all the ghouls, and you're always at full health, it feels like. So yeah. Zeus isn't going to have nearly as much pressure. So yeah, you're right, you know, they don't have that kind of like hard split pushing, but they have tons of range with the TF, which has a lot more synergy with the Senna rather than the Cho'Gath, and then the Cho'Gath was kind of like this isolated pick for Keen to really handle Zeus and neutralize him in this game.
I mean, early levels, you're just not going to be able to do that much to the Cho'Gath as the Yorick, but it's really when the Maiden comes online, I'm interested to see, like yeah, I said the whole eating the Maiden, but like how realistic, like, because Maiden has a lot of health, yeah. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
are you gonna be able to get it low enough that you can eat it? Will Zeus let that happen?
I mean, the no item Yorick is also just, you know, not going to be doing that much yet either into a Cho'Gath at level 1 to 3, in this case 4 now. But I think that it's a matchup that Zeus is going to feel fine in later on, as long as there's no big disasters that do transpire. Pretty big lead for Chovy early on in this one, as you would expect and want if you're a Gen.G fan. Otherwise, a pretty quiet early game. We've had a lot of early first bloods for Hanwha Life Esports, as the space indicated earlier on. It's not like that's happening in this one.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty interesting. The later you get in Fearless, a lot of the Engage gets taken away because Engage in CC is so high value in League that you get to game 4s and game 5s. We had that one, I think it was LCK Cup, right, where it went like... It went like 50 minutes or something. We had like Aurelion Sol and Jinx and Zeri and like all these crazy scaling champions with like no engage, and there's just nothing that the teams could do. So, you know, it's the LCK as well. I would not be surprised to have this game go very late. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised that nobody has picked Horn yet as well, especially as we do get into these later games where the scaling is just going to be very high value with low action especially.
I think what's just so broken about Gen.G's composition is the TF, Senna, Lee Sin, the double rapid fire, stun, sonic wave, that whole, as soon as you get that online, I think that's really where Gen.G start cooking.
Yeah, there's some protection obviously for the Jinx. She has the wild growth, and you know, there's the ability to keep everyone away with the Maokai ultimate to make it so Jinx can, once that first kill goes over, pop off in the team fight. There's a ton of damage, a ton of potential there. Even though it's not traditional engage, I do think both teams have a lot of ways to set up initial CC and then pile onto someone. And I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the sit back and scale draft for either side. Like, Ruler is playing Senna, but they're playing a TF comp as well. So I think that you have to generate some advantages. Objective control is so important, though. The smaller the engage setup becomes for both teams, is having that vision advantage and being able to chip away, and especially utilize that Senna range, for example, is so valuable. As it looks like Gen.G are just going to get this one here initially. Peanut has no backup.
Yeah, he's playing with fire here a little bit. He's got to be careful. And he will, in fact, be careful. I don't think giving free kills over to Gen.G, who want to get the ball rolling, is a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean, Chovy had ult too.
Yeah, he started walking down with ult and with Spellbook Ignite, so that was not a game you wanted to play.
And you know, Ignite is really good into Maokai because it's, you know, it's a tree. It burns pretty easily.
Yeah,
so.
super effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned this at the Lord of the Rings movie, where poor trees get burnt down, the ents.
Yeah, I was thinking more of Pokemon, but I can see where you're going with this one, Wolf.
I mean, Maokai's kind of ent-like.
Makes sense.
That's a dodge.
Now just going to utilize the walk strategy. Still going to flash away. Showing immense respect here to the both of them.
That's Zeka's Yone. I just walked it off.
I do think a situation like that, though, shows how bad it could have been if he hadn't dodged the ultimate. You know, Duro coming in, Delight coming in full backup, and the fact he had to flash anyway. If that had hit, it could have been a bit of a rougher situation for Chovy. Might have just ended up going down.
Yeah, Chovy, he sees the Vampire Scepter. You see he's not even trying to harass Zeka anymore. He's just like clearing waves over and over.
Oh, Duro!
Duro is like, sit down, buddy. What are you doing this far up the lane? As Zeka says, well, there's nothing I can do. First Blood is given over to Chovy. And just like that, Duro says, sit down. It's my time to shine.
I mean, we've seen so many of these Alistair mid-ganks be incredibly impactful, and when you're that far up, you just get headbutted into the turret, and he gets the nice interrupt there. It's incredibly well played from Duro. These are the types of mid-ganks we've seen so much from Duro this year, where he's just on the edge of making it happen. The mid laner feels safe. Like, there's no way he can get me, and then he just outplays them. Yeah, seen it on Nautilus, we've seen it on the Alistair. Blitzcrank as well.
It was super slick. And now...
Well, that's the slow. Zeus in a bit of trouble here. He is going to dodge the Q, but there are 3 people in the top lane, and already Zeus is going to be punished here. And they're just going to give the kill and the stack over to
So that from Canyon, he safeguarded away before the execute damage came through. He's like, no, I'll let you have the gobble.
Very good idea. Gen.G have a lot of momentum here in this early game. Canyon taking a bit of damage, but that Yone... not sure he can stick around for very long.
He needs his ultimate. It's just a few seconds away. Then he could make a big impact, but the timing here is so good for Gen.G.
TP gonna come through. They want to make an engage here on Duro. He doesn't have his flash because he used it for the engage in the mid lane. And so they're just gonna try to give this kill over to Zeka. Nicely handed over.
And now Canyon?
Yeah, there's a lot of people joining up here for the side of Hanwha Life. It is Elise Sin, so he will be okay.
I thought Zeka was going to follow there since he got his ultimate back up, but wanted to make sure Chovy didn't have control of this lane, so just went back to mid instead.
I think Gen.G overall pretty happy still with how it turned out. You know, it was a trade of kills with them getting the Yorick. You know, they do end up losing the Alistair, but they also got the 2 grubs to the 1. So working out pretty good for them. And we'll see.
This is Duro's play. If he comes, I'm going to go for it. There he is.
The flash is good. And thing is, Zeka knows he's dead, so he actually tries to go into the tower. So it goes, he tries to give credit over from the Ignite to the Alistair and doesn't manage to. Unfortunately for him.
That was just a really good proactive play from Duro where he knows the angle, he knows Zeka's that far up, and he's just fishing. And he caught a big one.
We are in Busan.
That's right.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, known for catching big ones. That is what happens here.
It's a port town.
I'm really liking this Cho'Gath and the Yorick. It just feels like the Yorick is sitting there, and yeah, he doesn't have any items, and he bought a call, but he's fallen pretty far behind, and the Cho'Gath was gifted a free champion stack as well for his first couple of stacks, or his first one.
We didn't see him eat the Maiden yet, though, so...
Yeah, I kind of feel like obviously, it hasn't been a true 1v1, and that was a big gank that did come through onto Zeus, and Zeus, had control at that moment. But I do kind of feel like this matchup is showcasing Keen's mastery of it, rather. Keen is showing that he knows how to play this matchup. He was happy to play this. Cho'Gath thinks he has like a bit of a counter pick here. I wouldn't call it a hard counter by any means, but he knows how to play it well and abuse the weaknesses.
I feel like the theme has just been Keen pick a tank and win lane. He's just done that.
Yeah, Scion game.
Yeah.
The Cassante game, and now this Cho'Gath game.
Yeah, it's part of why, for Hanwha Life's first 2 wins, we didn't really highlight Zeus because he wasn't the guy we were trying to highlight. It was mostly Viper, who was putting up the big numbers and carrying really hard. think about the Kalista game, Ruler kind of in an awkward spot. Yone can be very pesky.
Yeah, if he ults and hits, that's the end of that.
I feel like that's a moment right there where you're really thinking about the decision not to ban the Yone. That's the sort of moment.
I'm still thinking about it. We'll see how it works.
All right, Peanut,
game.
with his ultimate available, makes it so difficult to collapse in here. Ruler's at half health from the last exchange. He is Senna, though, so is able to heal up quite significantly.
No TP,
Yeah, it's going to be a straight up 4v4 unless the Yorick can get here, and the Maokai just going to zone with the ult as in goes. Oh, he stole it! He got in! He moves past the Maokai and says thank you very much. That'll be the second Dragon over to Gen.G. Now we got the ult, not going to hit anyone, and they just kick him away. Gen.G say, we don't want to fight. We just want the Drake and we want to get out.
I mean, it was
Yorick came down.
It's so clean. Canyon gets the steal. The ult comes out from Duro. He's so tanky, so he could just peel there and make sure the rest of the team is totally fine as you have a Senna on the other side healing up, gets healed up right before the fight, and there's just no way in. As they get just barely out of Zeka's ult range, his ult doesn't connect, and Gen.G just get away with it. They get the steal, and there's no consequences whatsoever.
And you know HLE, like the steal's frustrating, but they were ready for the fight. They were bringing the Yorick down. They wanted a rumble, and they don't even get their opportunity. They have to TP Zeka up to defend the tower, and they feel so bad about that outcome.
Yeah, and Ox Rumble was played in game 1, so.
Oh, sorry.
Not able to Rumble in this one anymore.
Oh, they would have loved to.
Yeah.
I mean,
would be pretty nice
we talked about the Pantheon's ability to avoid the ult from Peanut, right? But Canyon actually just simply walks on Lee Sin and gets into the pit, voids it. Is that a really nice angle to have access to that pit? The kick here for the disengage as well, really well played, but it's just moments like this where Peanut thinks it's kind of a done deal. He's like, I just Maokai ult towards them, and that's that. And Canyon says no. Super mobile on this Lee Sin. I'm going to find my way in. And then the follow-up from Duro as well, just his zoning with the Unbreakable Will.
With it being a Mountain Soul as well, you know, I feel like a lot of HLE, how they want their comp to function, it's the fact that you have, you know, the Yone threat on the back line, you have the reset potential of Viper. A Mountain Soul drastically limits that impact. So if Gen.G are able to keep stacking up those dragons, it's such a huge win con.
I agree. Very panda-looking cat, meowing a lot.
They do kind of look like pandas, don't they?
Well, I think this chroma like is just it's a panda, but it still meows for some reason. Yeah, very funny. As this mid game here, we're going into Herald in 1 minute's time. Look at all the vision that Gen.G already have set up here. Chovy's gonna grab a plate on this top side. He has 1,000 gold. Yeah, 1,000 gold. The lead gets it right before the fall off. And because he is going to have his ultimate as well, he can see any sort of flank angles that Hanwha Life are looking for. He can track everyone. It feels like this Herald is almost just a foregone conclusion at this point. Hanwha Life are just not going to get it. And it's just all the legwork that Gen.G has done with the lead they have. And this is the Gen.G that everyone predicted, right? This is the Gen.G from ahead that just doesn't give you any inches, doesn't give you any ins. Yeah. That people expected to come in as our first seed.
And it's going to be really interesting, you know, if Gen.G, they win this game, and you think about, well, they were very close to winning game 1, too. Like, they probably should have if there weren't a couple of iffy moments from them that kind of threw the game away. So, Hanwha Life, you know, we've given them a lot of credit tonight, and I think they deserve it for their ability to just play so much better when it comes to best of fives and big matches, but Gen.G are still the favorites.
I mean, look at this, too. Chovy's just going to get this whole turret. While they made a sort of attempt to gank Keen there, who got a Demolish proc, gets away, and Gen.G just get more and more. They're getting literally everything there is to get. Hanwha now grouped up for Herald so that they may be able to win a fight here, but it feels like Gen.G can do no wrong. I mean, they got feats of strength. I mean,
HLE will have come into this draft where they have the Yorick and the Yone and thought, oh man, our side laning, we're going to have so much control, and they just don't. They just don't right now, and I feel like Keen's super comfortable going up against the Yorick or the Yone, and Chovy's getting so much pressure down. HLE are now looking for the Rift Herald. Keen does have TP. They want to contest it, but Canyon's going to be a little bit late.
Now let's see what he can do. We got the TP coming in. Chovy's coming in from the top side. Bit of damage already going in. There's a TP right in front of Gen.G's face, and that's just going to be Zeus flashing away. As we got the Maokai ultimate trying to lock some people down and get this Jinx excited, but Gen.G, they just form a wall. They say no thank you, but Peanut goes back in, and a ton of damage is done to the Maokai, but the Lulu barely keeps him alive, and that's a kill for the Yone. Finds another pick on a Chovy here, who's just on the run, and there's the engage with Peanut going back in with the Rift Herald, picks up another one, and Chovy not able to do much here on the right side of the fight. Looking good for the side of Hanwha Life. In this fight, they pick up a couple.
This is the insane punishing power of this draft and of the playstyle of Hanwha Life, as we will have a pause, but you see what happens if you get just one kill. Keen's not that tanky yet. He dies. Viper gets excited, and then you can kind of almost just do whatever you want in a game state like this. Peanut, the Rift Herald, their best chance of beating Gen.G in regular season. Like, they were super close.
I mean, also, like, you can sit here and say, well, Gen.G and HLE look way better than everyone else. If they do fall down, they'll probably make it second seed. But, you know, going into today, everyone was so sold on Gen.G. That's been thrown up in the air. You always want to secure your ticket now. You never want to leave it up in the air and give an opportunity for another team to deny you.
Looks like they want to fight here for this Dragon. Gen.G looking at Mountain Soul Point. Looks like Hanwha Life really trying to close the gap and get in here, but it's just Zeka, and the jungler's still not anywhere close, as Canyon just going to be able to easily smite this one, you would imagine. There's the damage, gets the soul point, and Hanwha Life, I mean, especially without a Maokai, you can't really force anything unless Zeka's going to find, like, the God engage, which obviously is going to be almost impossible if they just spread out.
Yeah, we were missing some context there as to how that all started off and why Gen.G had so much control and got it for free, but I think it was just off of the reset after the last play in mid lane there, and yeah, that's massive, because that's Soul Point.
Yep. And now pressure really going to be on HLE for the rest of the game, because right now Gen.G are ahead, but just the threat of that Soul for the rest of the game, given that they have like a Senna and a Cho'Gath, who, you know, yes, HLE have a lot of scaling components themselves, but you never want to be in a position where Gen.G with a Senna, a pick that we know can be such a menace in the late game, could potentially have a Mountain Soul.
He ran over there, but is not going to be able to do anything for this.
Chovy did or Grump did, you know, a bit of both, just fucking
Yeah.
Super tense. You know, you could feel, you know, for those in the venue and for those listening, of course, at home, who can kind of tell when obviously the crowd mics are going. It's a bit silent right now, as it's very tense, right? I mean, the lead that Gen.G has is still there. You can see there's a few dents put in after that previous play. Zeus is going to be able to take out this turret.
Those are definitely pandas, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
but they have cat-like
cats.
features.
Yeah, they're not cats at all, I don't think. Like, they're just little mini pandas that meow.
Yeah,
I don't know the story behind that one. I think we're going to have to look.
They have like cat ears and whiskers that look like cats, but they're obviously designed to be pandas. So
I think it's the chroma, right? So
yeah.
It look like, you know.
Well, I mean, that's a turret to go over. This Yorick is, you know, slight lead.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think in terms of team fights later on, the Cho'Gath is going to be way more valuable. But in terms of side lane pressure, the Yorick is going to always be that threat. Neither team got 3 grubs, so let's split on that one.
I think there's also something to be said that even though Gen.G have a lead, they are looking for Zeus.
Yeah, he's very isolated down here. No TP from Zeka to try to save him, so it's just a straight up 2v1, and Zeus doesn't really deal damage yet. So it's going to be a free kill given over to Canyon. Second kill for his Lee Sin.
And there's just no cross map here. I mean, there's no angle for Hanwha Life to say, okay, Chovy ulted down here, the jungler's bottom. We'll just go ahead and get something else, because there's simply nothing. The Otacon hasn't spawned yet, and I think even trying to do that is optimistic. Chovy did flash on the play and doesn't have his ultimate anymore, but I mean, I think if they're going to try to just hone on Otacon here in 10 seconds, that's a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, I don't think they'll really have an opportunity to do so. Getting flash from Chovy is pretty big. Flash from Chef, very valuable. He obviously just didn't want the play to extend too long and be off the map for a really long time chasing down the Yorick. But he does have Spellbook, so he'll be able to trade it out for a different summoner before too long, so not the end of the world.
His Rod of Ages is almost complete as well.
Yeah, and he's not too far away from the rapid fire cannon. We've seen Rulers picked up his, so that range on the center really online. And approaching that point of the game where I feel Gen.G's really comes online, and not a moment too soon with 2 minutes till that Mountain Dragon.
Yeah.
I don't think Gen.G really need to prioritize the Otacon. They just kind of need to stop HLE from doing it. And then when that next Dragon comes up, that's when really you should be in a position where you're like, hey, let's fight. Whereas HLE, They're starting out of camp because they don't want to wait any longer. They don't want to get to the soul fight.
I think this is the kind of best case scenario for Hanwha is Gen.G botched how they try to stop this, but Gen.G just can just play slow. They can play passively on this. Ruler has his ult. He's going to be able to sustain so much in this longer fight.
Yeah, they have so much control with their range. And now finally TP is going to come through for Zeka after he picks up his shield bow. And it's just going to be potentially a flip, but you've got a Cho'Gath that you're smiting against, and all these resistances are going down. Chovy going to take a big chunk here on the left side, has to cleanse out of that one, but Zeka also being chunked out as in goes Canyon, gets Lulu ulted in the sky, but look at Peanut, he can't get in there, he's going to try, but he is not going to succeed, and now he does get punished as the rest of Hanwha Life just has to run away, tail between their legs. As down goes the Peanut's Maokai, and it was just such a weird fight to go for that auto.
And look at the death timer, Peanut is up with 10 seconds until the soul spawns, so that the timing's super tight. I think Gen.G are in a great spot now.
Yeah, they're going to look for even more.
Viper getting chunked here. He's going to get zoned away from the turret as well. He gets taken out as, yes, Keen will go down as well, but the job is already done. Duro and Canyon behind them, and Zeka and Delight have nowhere to go, just being chunked out by Ruler and by Canyon. Gen.G running the rift right now.
I mean, it did die to the tower, I think.
Duro is also going to be potentially an extra donation, potentially. Yes.
You know, this is one of those weird situations where that looked really positive on the back end for Gen.G, but now with these death timers, it's a little messy, this setup for the Dragon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chovy hasn't unsealed in a little while. Might try to go for like double smite plus Cho'Gath if Keen has TP, but he doesn't. The timing here is going to be quite awkward, and I think we are still going to end up having that fight because it's a Maokai who can't solo this, but at the end of the day, it felt like Gen.G could have just played that a little bit safer, walked away, and guaranteed soul. Now, it's a team fight. It still favors them, but I feel like you could have just had it for free.
Yeah, I think they saw Blood in the Water. They were like, we can wipe them, guarantee soul, rather than hope Peanut doesn't get here in time. Now it's going to be a 5v5, and they are still in a great position for this. We'll see how they set up for it.
They're trying to get Prio in mid, but I mean, even with your Jinx that has pretty good wave clear, you're just kind of getting outranged. And so Gen.G feel very comfortable to just sit in mid. Ascena with the Alistair. As now going to get a lot of vision of this. Chovy just ulting to make sure he's here for the fight. And get vision control of this Banana Brush, which is always crucial. Be able to just stick bottom, clear out some of the wave, and then go ahead and join with the team.
I mean, Ruler just is so far away from anybody that Gen.G can kind of slow play this and don't actually have to force an engage.
Yeah. Jovi's still looking for options, might as well.
He was so close to finishing Rapid Fire Cannon, but I believe he didn't.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have it.
Yeah,
pretty rough. This is Mountain Soul. Hanwha Life have to do something. You don't want to give this one over for free. The Maiden taking a little bit of chip damage. And Gen.G, they have Banana Brush control. You can see Hanwha Life trying desperately to push into this brush. They actually will be able to do so. And they have the Maokai to attempt to zone them away.
They got to get a kill for that Jinx.
Yeah, they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of sitting around. The Maiden's dead. No engage comes through. No Maokai ultimate available. Bit of damage comes out from the Jinx and a nice ult here, but it's only hitting tanks on the side of Zeka. Duro is going to get quite low, but so is Zeka. Zeka's just out of this one. We do get a kill on a Duro, though. And now Viper has the damage. And Chovy just very zoned away, so I think Gen.G might just have to give this one up. And that they will.
It was a really close fight. The amount of protection Chovy gave to Duro to try to keep him alive there to prevent the reset was pretty insane. But it's definitely a big trade up here for Hanwha Life. They win the fight, they get the Dragon. Canyon also likely caught.
Yes, flash and kick, but I don't know if he's actually going to get out here. Tries to taxi on a Peanut, but with a Lulu around, it's just elementary as they give a ton of gold, actually 1,000 gold over to Zeus.
And I think with hindsight, we can definitely say that overchase on the top side did bite Gen.G in the backside.
Yeah.
You know, they ended up having to take this 5v5, and Zeka gets so much value here, because meanwhile, Duro ends up trying to buy space for the team to stall out the Jinx and the Lulu, but Zeka goes in here and just kills Ruler, despite all this peel coming through. Keen doing his best, he gets the 1-for-1.
Yeah, and then Duro does eventually die, and then Viper is such a big problem here. Just no way that Keen and Canyon could do anything with Chovy out of mana and zoned away. And now Hanwha, with this advantage, no jungler, gonna try to rush down Baron.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this, but they do have a lot of damage on this Baron already. Jovi's got a nice angle on the left side. They just want to turn off of this, actually. Keen, very tanky, but not tanky enough. Duro not able to peel for him, and now Viper gets excited, and they just taxi them away from the objective. As it does look like maybe Ruler gets out, and so will Duro, but yeah, I think for Gen.G that's fine. You know, you stop the Baron, and you only lose Keen.
Just a lot of relevant gold going over to this Yorick. That's going to be a side lane problem in this game. The extra time they bought with the Dragon itself feels so huge. Sure, Ruler is getting to be a bigger and bigger problem, but these fights are looking a lot more broken up by Gen.G because Hanwha Life are playing as a better unit here in these 5v5s. Like, Chovy on the flank here doesn't really accomplish anything. They get the kill onto Keen, who's once again kind of just caught out here in the reset button for Viper. And at this point, you just got to get out and cut your losses. They get enough damage to stop Hanwha from getting the Baron, I suppose, but it's again that kind of pickaxe chipping away bit by bit that we talked about in the previous game. This time it's a much closer game. Hanwha Life are keeping Gen.G honest.
Still feels, it's so close, it's so tense at this point, and Gen.G still have the gold lead, they still have Arakan, they still have feature strength, one dragon away from Soul, but at no point do you ever feel safe. It felt much safer last game, but in this one it just feels like, especially with, you know, this Senna being this squishy carry, it feels like, you know, Zeka could just explode Ruler at any point, and that might just be your fight, your game, your series over. So we'll have to see. Summoners are available for, you know, Ruler and Chovy at this point, which gives them an extra element of safety. Yeah. And we do have the rapid fires completed for both of them, so that range, and I think that's what you really need to be playing around, is that going for that poke. Like, you land the stun card, you put a bit of burst into them, and then you sort of disengage. You keep them at a safe distance as much as possible.
Speaking of that stun card,
I mean, they have incredible range. The Mikhail is just going to have so much value into this TF, but they're going to get that out this time around.
Huge wave shoved into that bottom inner turret as Chovy ulted to make sure that was safe. He was able to spot, because they didn't have vision down there on the bottom side of the map at all, that Keen could continue to push the issue. That's IE. And we do see the Yorick has to catch this wave. He does have TP, but Gen.G get prio out of this. It's just a really nice siege setup there by Gen.G. Going to be able to get this scuttle and should be able to clear this Baron vision easily. And now things are very, very stressful here for Hanwha Life Esports, trying to fight into this with no eyes. And Zeka's just going to ult out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really rough. You don't really have an in, and you're just being picked apart. Peanut's going to flash, too, and this is just trying to get vision around the objective.
This is such a play from Gen.G. This is how their composition wants to function.
Yeah.
Just poking and prodding and using the rapid fire procs, using that extended range. I mean, Chovy, not letting them approach.
On his tier 3 ultimate here, he's got to back up again in just a second. He can even flank here. There's just no way to move forward for Hanwha Life.
Yeah, you've got zoning from the Cho'Gath as well, and the consistent gold cards make it so difficult. Hanwha Life say, we got to do something. They pull the trigger on Peanut's ult, but you're not doing anything. They just kind of throw an ult at them, and they don't find an angle because Gen.G are playing so respectful.
That was their last chance. Chovy with the gold card here.
Ult comes in, flash through on Duro, and that's going to be the end of this Yone as he's going to unbound, but yeah, he's just gone.
And now Dragon in 20 seconds, that's soul for them if they want to pick it up. I feel like this is expert play from Gen.G, whittling away the resources from HLE. They've really locked in on this one.
Peanut has no flash, so there's just simply not going to be a contest here. There's no way for him to get into the pit. There's no way for him to do anything. I mean, he's going to get his red buff, I suppose, but
got to take the little wins.
Yeah, I mean, Chovy just clears out that wave in the bottom lane. He's already here now, rejoined with his teammates. I think Hanwha Life are just going to have to grin and bear it as Gen.G will get Mountain Soul, making those resets for the Jinx even tougher. As we go back to this play here, Chovy had ulted previously, or this is moments later actually. This is the play on to Zeka. Just look for a flank angle here. Gold card, ult, track the movements of everyone, know exactly where Peanut is, just leave nothing to chance. And get that pick and head to Dragon.
The thing is, the engage tools being the ult from Yone and the ult from Maokai, and like they were burning them as resources, tracking them, and as soon as those are down, Chovy knows he can just walk up. Like there's literally nothing HLE can do to stop him, and he can just use that range without really any recourse. And now they can just do that same play again, gradually choke out the vision towards Baron, set up in a similar way. Those cooldowns, those resources back available, just burn them again.
I mean, Gen.G are in such a good spot, and all of the itemization, everything they're doing right now too, just makes it oppressive and hard to punish. Like, arm guard for Chovy even. feels so strong here, even though it's almost unnecessary, just incredibly safe. He's got Cleanse set on his unsealed spellbook as well. Punishing him is going to be incredibly difficult, because any kill for Viper is your in for Hanwha Life to actually clean up fights.
Yeah.
But getting that kill onto even a squishy target like TF is tough with the itemization here in the Cleanse.
I think HLE have realized they got to send Viper forward first because they have Mikhails and they got to fight fire with fire. You got to use the Jinx range to push them away and threaten with the damage, because it's
Yeah, you actually kind of want the fight to start, and you get stun carded, you Mikhails, and you just fight before the next stun card is up.
or just start the Baron and
This
see
is
how it
quite
goes.
desperate, quite
And,
desperate.
Yeah, they get a big flank coming in from Chovy. He's going to be here on the left side and take a look. And in the massive kick behind everyone, and the Cho'Gath knocks up everyone as well on the backside. As Ruler's already dead, and they don't have the damage if they don't have Ruler, as that is going to be the end. Or not Ruler, Viper. He's going to go down, and Ruler stays alive with the Zai doing tons of damage. Zeus running away. And now, I mean, maybe Gen.G did it. They were patient enough. They're going to look to push mid.
I mean, I think that they can at least get an inhibitor here, but I mean, with 25 seconds on Jinx, 30 seconds on Yone, if they get anybody else, I think this game is just going to end. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it may already have 20 seconds left on Zeka, 12, they have a wave.
Yep, they have a Cho'Gath who is full health with the Senna behind him. And Duro just going to knock away Zeus. You don't have any chance of killing the minions when you're that far away, as this should be going to Silver Screeps, ladies and gentlemen, as Zeus trying his best, and they're just going to flash over and kill the Nexus. That gets it done. Gen.G looking for the reverse sweep if they can do it in Game 5.
You know, games 1 and 2, we're kind of wondering where Canyon was to take us to Game 5. We get a pristine Canyon kick to deliver us